There's a part sitting inside every single AI server on the planet right now that costs less than a penny to make, and almost nobody watching this is paying attention to it. That is exactly why it matters, because the biggest money in the stock market never comes from the part everyone is talking about. It comes from the part nobody has heard of yet, the one quietly running out of supply while demand explodes around it. Stick with me, because I am going to walk you through what this tiny piece is, why Wall Street analysts are suddenly obsessed with it, and 3 companies sitting right in the middle of it that most American investors have never even considered buying. If you like finding these opportunities before they show up on the evening news, hit that subscribe button right now, because on Ticker Hawk, we dig into overlooked corners of the market every single week. Every major move in artificial intelligence, stocks over the last few years, has followed the exact same pattern. Something breaks, a shortage appears somewhere nobody expected, and the handful of companies that can fix it end up making early investors an enormous amount of money. Think back to when graphic processors became the bottleneck for training AI models, and anyone who got in early rode one of the strongest runs the chip industry has ever seen. Then it was electricity itself, as data centers started demanding more power than the grid could realistically deliver, and alternative power companies saw their share prices multiply. Most recently, it was memory chips, the components that store and move data inside a server, and suppliers of that memory saw some of the best stock performances of the entire year. 3 different bottlenecks, 3 different waves of wealth, all following the same formula. Find where the AI supply chain is about to break, and you find where the next money is likely to be made. So here's the question worth sitting with. If the pattern keeps repeating, what breaks next? I spent the last few weeks digging through supply chain reports, earnings calls, and analyst notes from the big banks trying to answer exactly that. And the answer surprised me. It is not a flashy piece of silicon or a giant power plant. It is a component smaller than a grain of rice called a multi-layer ceramic capacitor, or MLCC for short. You have probably never heard the term before today, and that is exactly the point. Here's the simplest way to think about what these things do. AI chips do not pull electricity in a smooth, steady line. Every time a chip processes a burst of data, the power draw spikes and drops almost instantly, thousands of times a second. If nothing smooths that out, the voltage becomes unstable, the chip throws errors, and in the worst case, the whole system shuts down. That job falls on these tiny ceramic capacitors, acting like a shock absorber for electricity, catching every spike, so the rest of the server keeps running clean. The faster and more powerful AI chips get, the more of these are needed. And we are not talking about a handful per server. According to a widely circulated research note from Goldman Sachs, the newest generation of AI server racks being designed by Nvidia could require as many as 600,000 of these capacitors in a single rack, not per data center, per rack. Multiply that across the thousands of racks being built out this year, and you start to understand the scale of what is coming. That same research note made a comparison worth noting if you remember how the memory chip story played out. It called these ceramic capacitors the 3rd largest cost item inside an AI server, right behind the processors and the memory chips we already talked about, and directly compared this moment to what happened right before memory chip suppliers took off, calling this component the next memory. If you caught that memory run even partway through, you already know what that kind of comparison can mean for a stock price. Now here's where it gets interesting from an investing standpoint, because this is fundamentally a supply problem, not a demand problem. The demand is already here and growing fast. The supply is the issue. Producing these high-end capacitors is not something a factory can ramp up overnight. It takes specialized ceramic materials, precise manufacturing equipment, and years of engineering refinement. Unlike a lot of electronics manufacturing, the world's ability to produce these at scale is concentrated in a handful of companies, almost all based in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. The largest producer, controlling roughly 1/3 of the global market, is reportedly running its factories at close to full capacity already, leaving little cushion to absorb a sudden wave of AI-related orders. Delivery times on advanced versions of these parts have stretched past 20 weeks, and some analysts believe prices could climb as much as 150% over the next year. When you combine a hard supply ceiling with rising demand, profit margins tend to expand faster than revenue does. That exact dynamic turned memory chip makers into some of the best performing stocks of the last cycle, and there is a real case building that it could happen again here. Before we get into the actual companies, quick favor to ask. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, drop a comment letting me know what other parts of the AI supply chain you want me to dig into next. It genuinely helps me figure out what to cover, and it helps this video reach more people who are trying to make sense of where the smart money is actually moving. All right, let's get into who actually makes these things. The clear global leader in this space is a company most Americans have never heard of, holding somewhere between 35 and 40% of the entire worldwide market for these capacitors. That kind of scale makes it the closest thing to a pure play bet on this trend that exists anywhere in the world. This company also builds wireless components and sensors, but the ceramic capacitor business remains by far the biggest driver of both its revenue and its profit. Its real advantage is not just size, it is decades of accumulated expertise in the exact material science needed to build capacitors, small enough, durable enough, and reliable enough to survive inside a high-powered AI server, along with deep relationships with virtually every major chipmaker and electronics manufacturer on the planet. This has historically been a slow, steady, unglamorous business, growing revenue in the low single digits year after year, which is exactly why a sudden supply squeeze could hit it so hard in the other direction. Management is currently guiding for growth to pick up modestly this coming year. But if pricing power on these components keeps building the way analysts expect, that guidance could end up looking conservative fairly quickly. This stock trades on the over-the-counter market in the United States under the ticker symbol MRAAY. The second name worth knowing is considerably smaller, sitting at roughly a tenth the size of the market leader, but arguably even more concentrated in this exact theme. This company generates a large share of its business from ceramic capacitors and related passive components, giving investors fairly focused exposure without the distraction of a dozen unrelated product lines. Rather than competing purely on volume and price, this company has leaned into premium, high reliability components built for demanding uses like automotive systems, industrial equipment, and increasingly AI infrastructure. That premium positioning tends to show up as stronger profit growth relative to revenue growth, which is exactly the kind of setup you want to see going into a supply squeeze. The trade-off is scale. It simply does not have the same manufacturing capacity or customer diversification as the market leader, which means it could see faster swings in both directions, depending on how orders flow. This one trades over the counter under the ticker symbol TYOYY. The third company is a different kind of investment entirely. This one is a much larger, far more diversified electronics manufacturer, where ceramic capacitors are an important piece of the business, but only one piece among many. Alongside these components, this company also produces magnetic sensors, power supply systems, industrial equipment, batteries, and specialized electronic materials used everywhere from smartphones to electric vehicles to, yes, AI data centers. The diversification cuts both ways. On one hand, if the capacitor shortage theme does not play out exactly as expected, this company still has plenty of other growth drivers supporting the stock. On the other hand, if the shortage really does explode the way some analysts are projecting, the upside gets diluted across a much bigger overall business compared to the more focused names we just covered. Of the three companies, this one has actually posted the strongest recent growth numbers, with double-digit gains in both revenue and profit over the past year, even though management's own guidance for the coming year sounds notably conservative. This one trades under the ticker TTDKY. Now, an important note before you go rushing to buy any of these three: all three trade on what is called the over-the-counter market here in the United States, sometimes just called OTC. This is a different, less tightly regulated exchange than the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, typically used by smaller companies or foreign-owned companies that want U.S. investors to have access to their shares without going through the full listing process of a major exchange. The advantage is obvious. It gives you a way to actually own these Asian manufacturers from a U.S. brokerage account. The downside is that the OTC market has a well-earned reputation for shady, thinly traded companies with weak financial disclosure. To be clear, that reputation mostly applies to tiny, obscure names. These three companies are massive, multi-billion-dollar, in some cases tens of billions of dollars, established manufacturers with decades of operating history. But it is still smart to do your own homework on the financials before putting real money behind any of them. And please remember, nothing in this video is personalized financial advice. It is information to help you do your own research and make your own decision, ideally alongside a licensed financial advisor who knows your full situation. If you are finding this useful so far, do me a favor and hit that like button. It costs nothing, and it tells me to keep making videos, exactly like this one. Now let's talk about the risks, because no opportunity like this comes without them. The most obvious risk is single company risk. Any one of these three could stumble on execution or fail to capitalize on the opportunity, which is one reason many investors spread a position across more than one name rather than betting everything on a single ticker. Second, there's valuation risk. All three stocks have already climbed sharply this year as word of this shortage has spread, meaning some future demand may already be priced in. So go in with clear eyes rather than assuming there is unlimited room to run. And third, this whole theme rides on the broader artificial intelligence build-out. So if AI spending slows down meaningfully, demand for these capacitors slows right along with it. For what it is worth, most major banks covering this space, including Goldman Sachs, have actually been raising their AI infrastructure spending projections rather than cutting them, with some estimates now pointing toward well over $1 trillion next year alone. So the risk is real, but right now the data is not pointing toward it happening anytime soon. Here's something else worth knowing if picking individual foreign stocks on the OTC market feels a little outside your comfort zone, because there is a simpler way to get exposure to this exact theme. Rather than trying to guess which single company wins the race, you can buy a fund that holds a whole basket of these companies at once, spreading your risk across the entire sector instead of betting on one name. A broad, major Japan-focused exchange-traded fund gives you exposure to well over 100 companies, including some of these ceramic capacitor makers, alongside the rest of the Japanese market. It is a much gentler, more diversified way in, though only a modest slice of that fund is actually tied to technology. So you are diluting your exposure to this specific trend quite a bit. A South Korea-focused fund tends to be a better fit if you want something a little more concentrated in the technology and AI space, since it holds companies like Samsung, alongside other chip and component makers, with roughly half the fund weighted toward tech names tied directly into this story. For investors who want something even more targeted, there's also a more actively managed Korea-focused fund holding around 50 companies, with a much heavier tilt toward technology, where Samsung is typically the largest single holding, alongside several other AI and component-related names. That fund has put up a strong run over the past year, and while it will not give you exposure to some of the Japanese pure play names we talked about earlier, it does offer a more concentrated way to ride this same broader theme without having to pick a single winner. So here's how I would think about all of this if I were putting a plan together. This is not financial advice, just how I would personally frame the decision-making process. You essentially have 3 paths available to you. You can go for concentrated, individual stock exposure through the 3 companies we walked through, accepting more single company risk in exchange for potentially bigger upside if the shortage plays out the way analysts expect. You can go broader through one of the country-focused funds, sacrificing some upside for a lot more diversification and a smoother ride. Or, and this is honestly what a lot of experienced investors tend to do with a theme like this, you split the difference, putting a smaller position into 1 or 2 of the individual names for extra upside potential, while anchoring the bulk of your exposure in a diversified fund, so a single bad headline cannot wreck your position. The bigger lesson underneath all of this, though, goes beyond just these 3 stocks or these specific ceramic capacitors. Every single AI boom so far has started the exact same way, with a quiet, unglamorous bottleneck that most investors never even notice until the shortage is already showing up in earnings reports and stock charts. The processors were the bottleneck, then it was electricity, then it was memory. Right now, all the signs point toward this next tiny component becoming the following chapter in that same story. Nobody can tell you with certainty that it plays out exactly this way. And you should absolutely go verify these numbers yourself before putting a single dollar behind any of it. But if the pattern holds the way it has 3 times in a row already, the investors paying attention to this right now, while almost nobody else is talking about it, could be looking at the exact same kind of opportunity that turned an earlier generation of quiet, boring hardware bets into some of the biggest winners of this entire AI era. If this video helped you understand something new today, that is exactly why this channel exists. Share it with someone figuring out where to put their money in this market. Drop a comment with your take on which of these 3 companies you would buy first, and subscribe to Tickerhawk if you have not already. Because next week, we are breaking down another overlooked piece of the AI supply chain, and you will want to be here for it.